I'm Dr. Ruth White, a longtime resident of Cedar Rapids, but not native. I became involved in the museum really before it was built. I remember being a part of a community group that met in the old Mount Zion Church and talked about the concept. I like the fact that there are rotating exhibits, that exhibits come and go, and that they stay for long enough for people to actually find time to come and see them. But I have to say that I'm also enamored of the permanent exhibit simply because, as an educator, I think it's important for people to have some sense of what the Middle Passage was like. Not that going in through that door and seeing people laying on wooden slabs gives you any real sense, but for kids, it's like it's a difficult concept to get children and students to understand. So I think it's important to have something like that at the beginning of the any tour of the museum. I'm a teacher by training. I taught at Jefferson when we first got here in the 70s and taught at Washington for most of my career. Took a sabbatical when those things were still real and went to the university and finished up my PhD. So my PhD is in American Studies with a concentration in African American history and literature, because I grew up in a town where we were the only Black people, and I never saw myself except in my family, and was never taught anything about myself in the little town that we grew up in. So I kept looking to see when people were going to introduce this history or literature to me as an English major, and it never happened. So when I found that there was a department at the University of Iowa and a scholar who was heading it, I was all in. I run a program called the Academy for Scholastic and Personal Success, which also comes out of the fact that when we were kids, we didn't see ourselves. And when I taught students, they didn't see themselves. And they were grateful for me because I was one person that looked like them in the high school where I taught. And so the fact that there is still such a paucity and dearth of information on African Americans and knowledge about African Americans in 2019 is, I mean, it really boggles my mind. And it's doubly tragic because not only do people who are not African American not know about wonderful things that African Americans have done and how hard they've worked and all that kind of thing. It should be part of our history. But somebody told me, the winners always write the history books. So, maybe that's what it is. Anyway, people should know. But not only should people who are not African American know, people who are African American should know. And there is, I think, a very detrimental wave around us that says that we should diminish ourselves by not taking advantage of our education and not taking it seriously, or not seeing the wonder of our heritage, not knowing it, not thinking of it as important. That's crucial. So the fact that the African American Museum is here is a really easy way for people to start that journey, to ease themselves into that knowledge. And once you have that knowledge, you only thirst for more. I tell my students, once you know, you can't unknow. So sometimes I think people like to be ignorant because then they don't have to be responsible for knowing anything. But so the museum is absolutely crucial for all of us in Iowa but particularly for young people of color in this area.